You're listening to Strange by Nature, your guide to the strange, weird, unbelievable, and improbable wonders of the natural world.
Hello everyone, thanks for being here today. I am Kirk Mona and I am joined today by Rachel Ginza and Victoria Thompson. We are all professional naturalists who together have scoured the world for weird and wonderful wonders just to please your mammalian brain's desire for novelty. Isn't that nice? Let's do this.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. So much fun stuff is about to happen.
Yay!
A little different here this week. We have another special guest. We have Ellen from Just the Zoo of Us podcast. Say hello.
Hi, friends. It's so nice to
Hey,
talk
Ellen.
to you. Hi, Rachel.
Great to have you here.
I'm so excited.
For those who maybe aren't familiar with your podcast yet, tell us about it. What do you guys do?
Yeah, so we kind of like y'all, we kind of go back and forth between doing like strictly co-hosted episodes and guest episodes where we bring folks on to share their expertise and knowledge. But our whole gimmick is that we review animals. We give them ratings out of 10 in the categories of effectiveness, which is physical adaptations, ingenuity, which is behavioral adaptations, and then just aesthetics, which is just how nice this animal is to look at. So we're kind of giving a full report card for each animal that we talk about on the show. So when my husband and I do episodes together, it's 2 animals. When it's a guest, they usually talk about just one, and it's a really great time. We talk about all sorts of crazy I try to aim for like bringing some animals you may have never heard of before.
Oh, that's our favorite thing to do here.
Right?
Indeed. Now, I have to ask. I have not heard, all of your episodes. Have you talked about the sarcastic fringe head?
No, not quite yet.
You should.
It's
and
beautiful.
I really want to know what ratings you give it on appearance.
I also do.
I personally, I've seen it. I've seen the pictures of it.
Mm-hmm.
I could really go either way. It's kind of like it depends on the mood thing, but I think I would probably skew low because I typically look for something with a lot of really like theatrical, maybe colors and really like pretty interesting markings, stuff like that.
You're breaking my heart, Ellen.
The only pictures I've seen of them are like sandy colored, although maybe it's because like effect of when you see them underwater, a lot of the light is like not coming through. So maybe I haven't seen them in a more flattering lighting.
They can be kind of rainbow colored, but they do look sort of like a rainbow colored demon spawn. So
they're
we'll chat
funky.
later. We'll chat later. Well, thank you for being on. It's been really fun to hear what you've brought for us. I'm kicking things off this week. And this week, look, I'm talking about spiders.
Yes.
But we've talked about spiders before, Kirk.
I know. I don't have a particular spider in mind. This isn't a story about a spider like that's bigger than your head or anything like that. It's simply
Are there spiders bigger than my head, Kirk?
We'll talk about that later, Rachel. This is simply a story about how much spiders eat.
Okay.
As it turns out, spiders are efficient hunters, and there's a lot of them. So what really got me thinking about this was a research paper published back in April 2017 by Martin Neifler and Klaus Berghofer. I hope I said their names correctly.
You nailed it.
This was in the journal The Science of Nature, also known as, here we go, Naturwissenschaften, which is one of those great German compound words.
Woof.
So the title of the article really says it all. The article is just called "An estimated 400 to 800 million tons of prey are annually killed by the global spider community."
Whoa, that's a lot more food than I expected.
Gives it away, right?
That tons, like 2,000 pounds, or like
tons.
Like when you say what?
Well, metric tons.
Oh,
actually.
That's worse.
Yeah, so it blew my mind when I read this, and naturally we can't go out there and measure the weight of every animal eaten. So this, as the title implies, this is an estimate. But as an interpretive naturalist, I like to help people visualize meaninglessly big numbers. So it's easy to say 400 to 800 million tons, but what does that really mean, right? First of all, I do want to acknowledge that's quite a range.
Yeah, just a bit.
The difference is 400 million tons between the two numbers is quite a lot. So there's some variation, some variables at play here. But either way, we're talking about a staggeringly large number. And as I alluded to, these are not U.S. tons. These are the slightly smaller metric ton, which is 2,204.62 pounds. So I thought it'd be really fun to try to put it in perspective. On the high side of this estimate, spiders are globally consuming, let's put it into pounds, 1.8 trillion pounds of prey annually.
Number. That's powerful.
That's huge.
That is big. But again, I can't totally picture that. So I wanted to crunch the numbers for you
I
guys.
don't think anyone can picture that, Kirk. It's trillions.
Exactly.
So far beyond the realm of I will never experience any quantity in the trillions, like at any
not
scale
in any
I could
physical
perceive.
way.
Not even
right.
breaths of air that we breathe in our lifetime.
Yeah. No, it's bizarre. Now, Rachel, you may have some trouble picturing it, so I'm going to put it in a unit of measure that may make more sense to you. We're going to put it in units of Rachels.
Beautiful.
Now, I know on the show, usually a Rachel is a unit of height, and
Yes.
I am not as impolite to ever ask Rachel her weight, but just a quick sort of, random estimate I came up with shows that spiders consume somewhere around 11 billion Rachels per year.
That's too many Rachels, Kirk.
Well,
So
first
watch
of all,
your
it's too many
back,
Rachels.
Rachel.
Oh,
Right.
Both not
and
only for me in general, but just me with other, are they clones of me? Or are there other Rachels who are about the same
that's going
size?
beyond the scope of what I'm really talking about.
Right.
All Rachels about your size. But that brings up a good point of if we consider that a Rachel is sort of like an average size human, think about it. There's 8 billion humans on Earth now.
Awful.
Spiders would eat 11 billion
So
per
all
year. So
of
spiders eat
humanity.
more than the entire biomass of humanity on Earth annually.
Not a lot of people
Insane.
know
Which
this, but spiders are
is
actually Rachel specialists. They're hyper specialists, and they only
I'm sorry,
eat
Rachel.
Rachel specifically.
I need to talk to my
I can't
spiders.
believe you survived so long.
I need to talk
They've
to.
been waiting for you.
I need to talk
Oh,
to my
shit.
residential
Have a good night,
apartment
Rachel.
spiders here.
Yeah.
Have a meeting of the council.
Yeah, make
Yeah,
sure
now
that
that,
our deal
again,
of paying rent is still in place.
I can't really picture 11 or even 8 billion people either. So let's try something else. Now, it's not really grilling season in the Northland where we are. It's probably still grilling season down where
It is
Ellen
grilling
is, but-
season if you try hard enough, Kirk.
And that's exactly what I was just going to say, Rachel. I mean, it doesn't really, 2 feet of snow up here don't really stop people from grilling, but
2
you just have
feet.
to bring a shovel with you. Okay, let's stop then, Rachel. How much snow do you guys have up there right now? It's 2 feet where I am.
We just compacted down from 40 to 34 inches. So,
But you were at 40 inches?
yeah,
Wow. It's a lot of snow.
it's up to my hip. It's great.
Ooh.
There were places when I was out hiking with the drifts with kids where it was almost up to my hips, which was interesting to do with kindergartners where it was almost over their head. But anywho, since we're talking about grilling, let's talk about cattle. Humans like to eat cattle. So how many cattle would spiders eat? Turns out 1.3 billion cattle
So
per year.
all the cattle?
I didn't actually look up how many cattle are on Earth. That's a really good question. So I'm just going to ignore it and move on.
I
Let's
don't
move on to
understand
things
it,
that-
and I won't respond to it.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. That we'll maybe we'll have to look that up after the show and put it in the notes. If we move on to things that we can't eat, because we need some bigger things here. I drive a 2-door Mini Cooper. They are small, but they still weigh about 3,000 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Spiders could eat the equivalent of 588 million Millie Coopers. Millie Coopers, jeez.
Millie
There's a lot of
Coopers,
blah, blah,
that's
a lot of
way
M's in
more
there.
than
Try that
that's
again.
way smaller than a Mini Cooper.
I know, right? A Millie Cooper is just teeny tiny.
How many Millie Coopers are there in a Giga Cooper?
Well, there's 1,000 Millie Coopers per Cooper. I don't know, a lot. Spiders could eat 588 million Mini Coopers, essentially 500 million per year, if they like to eat cars. So we got to get bigger. How about a fully loaded school bus? Now we're talking the
With
whole bus,
children?
3 kids to a seat. With children, yep. Fully loaded, about 30,000 pounds for a school bus. Spiders could take down 58 million school buses plus the kids inside in 1 year. It's
Kirk, that's dark.
staggering.
All I'm hearing is that we need to be
I'm not suggesting
grateful.
This.
We need to be super grateful. We should be every day just counting our blessings and
Think
considering
how overrun
lucky
with
we
insects
are.
we would be.
Right?
Yeah.
Hey,
Well,
hey,
wait.
spiders of
Lucky,
the world.
lucky that spiders don't eat us, or lucky
Yes.
that spiders are eating all the insects for us?
Lucky that we are
Both.
too large for a spider to eat us.
Yes.
Usually, yes. Yeah, I think I saw a movie somewhere where that happened, but I'm not sure if that was a documentary or not. So these numbers are still hard to picture, so we're going to go bigger. I looked up a 747 jumbo jet fully loaded with passengers, fuel, and cargo. That weighs in at 910,000 pounds. So if jumbo jets like a 747 were food, spiders could eat 19 million jumbo jets every year. That's starting to be something. We're getting into something I can picture here. I still can't picture 19 million jets.
Not quite. Yeah, that's a lot. Oh, wow.
Keep in mind, though, that in the 54-year production run of the 747, Boeing only produced 1,574 of them.
Cool.
So spiders are going to be awfully hungry really quick.
They're ready to
Yeah.
move on to the
Someone
school
can-
buses.
Exactly.
Someone can do the math for like how many seconds it would take them or minutes to eat a 747. It's probably not long.
First,
Not
they
long.
came for the 747s, and I said nothing. Then they came for the school
Right.
buses.
And now it's time to act.
And did you still say nothing? Because the children are being eaten. That's why.
I couldn't say nothing because the spiders ate me already.
I gotcha. You were on the school bus. Now the problem
No,
we're
on the
having here, you
plane.
guys, is that we're on the plane. Well, Ants on a Plane. That's the new Samuel L. Jackson movie coming out. Not ants, spiders on a plane.
Spiders
They
on
eat
a
the ants
plane.
on the plane too. The problem we're having here is that we aren't thinking big enough, and I can't picture 19 million jumbo jets really. So let's do the Empire State Building. All right. That giant mass of steel and concrete weighs 365,000 U.S. tons. It's a big old heavy building.
Just a
That
bit.
is in and of itself hard to picture. So hopefully we can all picture like how large the Empire State Building is, at least somewhat. We've seen some pictures probably, right? Maybe you've been there. So if the building was edible, spiders could, even though it's so big, spiders could still eat 2,416 Empire State Buildings every year.
What?
Wow. Yeah.
With
2,416. I know.
their little
It's-
tiny mouths.
Well, it's all the
so
spiders on the
astounding,
planet
all right?
just going. Mm-hmm.
It's true. It
Right?
is kind of a team effort.
I mean that's several a day. I didn't break the math down. It's like 6 Empire State Buildings a day or something like that, or 5 or 6. Like that would be a sight to behold. They're taking down one for breakfast essentially, and then snacking the rest of the day. And I mean it's there's a lot of spiders, you guys.
You can
There's
have a
lot of
little
spiders.
Empire State Building as a treat.
Right.
Right. Like, no, we want the whole thing. So this journal article obviously doesn't have these numbers I'm throwing at you. There was just the estimate of how they came up with the amount of food. This is available open access online if you're curious and want to check it out. They had to think through all the different factors, such as like how many days of the year do spiders feed in different climates globally? Because like up here in Minnesota in the winter, you don't have spiders eating stuff outside, but you do in the summer. But down in Florida, where Ellen is, there's like spiders eaten year round, right? So they had to kind of figure out all the math and like compensate for all these different variables, which is really fascinating. And you can see why, in the low end, there's a 400 million ton wide difference between the high and the low side estimates. But it's a really cool example of scientists trying to wrap their mind around numbers and something that has been going on for millions of years here on Earth, and try to sort of just make it something that we can have some quantifiable numbers to, which is really cool. And by the
Definitely.
way, just as a final little thought, I just for fun, I looked up this last little tidbit that this is even going on in your home, obviously. And sure, the density is much lower in the average house than outside. I think outside it was like 132 spiders per square meter or something like that. But in your house, there are around 62 spiders on average.
People will hate that.
So when
Rookie
you
numbers.
I know. When you see one, be sure to thank them for eating all the insects that are trying to get into your home.
Yeah,
That's
cohabitate
That's what I have
with
for
them.
you this week. Yeah, say thank you, cohabitate. Spiders are pretty awesome. And just be thankful, like Ellen said, they don't eat you.
Yeah, because imagine when you're imagining all of these school buses and 747s, convert them into that amount of mass, except made of insects, and then imagine that
Right.
that's what's in your house instead of the spiders. I think I'll take the spiders.
I will take the
luckily,
spiders.
I don't have the mass of a 747 worth of insects in my house, because really, yeah, I mean, you'd have to figure out. I wonder. That's a different paper, I guess. How if you took the mass of a jumbo jet fully loaded worth of insects and spread them out, how much land, like how many square meters would that cover? Because for the spiders, again, there was about 130. I think it was 131 per square meter. That was one average. Kind of average. Some places are much higher, some places are lower. But the average of, I bet the insect density is even higher. It's going to be higher than the spider density.
It would
so
have to be.
It's pretty wild.
That's insane.
Yeah, it would have to be. Well, you guys, yeah, spiders are super amazing. We're going to go to a break. And when we come back, we'll get to hear what sort of amazing thing Ellen is going to tell us about.
So, Kirk, you mentioned that, I am down here in Florida where
Yeah.
we don't have the same harsh winters that you get up north.
Fair.
I've
Although
heard.
I hear it's a little cool this week for you guys, but yeah.
This winter in particular has been colder than winters in my recent memory. But
Yeah.
typically, springtime in Florida doesn't necessarily look like springtime up north. We don't get,
Right.
the melting snow. We don't get the thawing ice.
Mhm.
But things are
Yeah.
heating up, and not just in temperature.
Ooh,
So-
I'm very
Bum.
interested. I'm going, by the way, I'm
Yeah.
going to use this because my aunt and my uncle just moved to Florida a couple of years ago.
Oh, exciting.
And I very much they always ask me, how much snow? And they're always shocked. And I'm like, you lived here. What are you talking about?
They're just flexing. That's just
Oh.
flex. That's all.
Right.
I knew it.
Yeah, they're just bragging. But so as things do get warmer in Florida, alligators who are just waking up from a winter that they have just
Yeah.
spent silently brumating along riverbanks and ponds. As the temperatures climb, they start to wake up a little bit. They start to stretch their legs. They've just come off of a couple months of beauty sleep. So they're looking their best. They're looking fresh. They're looking cute. They're ready
Love
to hit
it.
the town and find a mate. So this is alligator mating season, and male alligators are especially theatrical in their displays. So they slap the water with their jaws, they lift their tail up and slam it back down. They just put on a big show for any females who might be nearby, and also for the males too, right? So that they can kind of flex a little bit, be like,
Yeah,
I'm the big gator in the pond. But they also, I wanted to focus on a way that they signal their availability in a little bit of a more elegant way, that you may not
Ooh.
have necessarily seen if you don't spend a lot of time around gators.
Okay.
Male alligators, when they are submerged in water, if you've ever heard the sounds that alligators make, that sort of
Ooh,
bellowing,
I have.
low
It's so
pitched,
fun.
Yeah.
that rumbly,
Kinda growly, yeah.
yes. So they can make these bellowing sounds at infrasonic pitches. So at pitches that are
Oh,
so
cool.
low that humans can't hear them, and it actually makes their body and then the water around them vibrate.
What?
And this vibration causes ripples and waves to bounce around on the water's surface in these really like mesmerizing patterns. So you get those sort of geometric patterns on the water surface.
Yeah, yeah.
If you watched The Rings of Power, there was the like opening credits of that series involved these sort of like sand on like speakers effects. So that is an effect that is caused by Faraday waves that are a special kind of sound waves that the alligators are able to produce by the low pitch of their rumbling sound.
Whoa.
And it causes like droplets to jump on the surface of the water.
Very
so you
cool.
get this sort of like, it almost looks like it's raining, but it's not. And this is what gives this performance the name of the water dance. So this is the alligator's water dance, which is a really cool
That's
thing.
so cool.
It's cool because like you'll see this effect before you hear the gator make the noise, because they're doing this at a pitch that humans can't really hear, and then after they do this, then suddenly they'll erupt with this sort of roaring sound that is within a range you can hear. So it's an interesting like build up. You see the droplets and then you hear the roar. It's really, really cool. And
they're starting low. It's like
it's a cool build up. It's really, really neat.
Who knew they were so operatic though?
They're very theatrical. And I told
I will admit, when you said that they're a bit fancy, I thought they were maybe, getting a little charcuterie board together, but no, it's all about sound.
Yeah, they actually just lay like cuts of meat and cheeses along their back. Yeah, just
that
lay
seems
them out,
dangerous
and
to try to
spread
take
there.
those.
It's a trap, actually. It's how they catch prey. Not a lot of people know
Gotcha.
that. So I tell you about the water dance so that I can tell you a second story, which is kind of the thing that I really wanted to tell you about. This was back in 2007. Tampa Bay Times writer Jeff Klinkenberg was listening to an NPR report that mentioned alligators responding to a musical tune, which was a low B flat. So he decided that he wanted to replicate the 1944 experiment that had been the basis of that like assertion in the NPR report. So he decided he was going to test this by joining forces with the University of Florida alligator expert Kent Vliet and a Florida orchestra tuba player named William Mickelson.
Amazing.
And they got together for a field trip to Gatorland, which is a
of course
theme park in Orlando. I'm going to keep my opinions about it to myself, but it is a theme park in Orlando that houses thousands of alligators, among other like captive wildlife. They have like crocodilians and capybaras and stuff, but the big thing there is gators. You go there to see gators. So once they're there with all these thousands of gators, the tuba player plays a low B flat for the alligators. Nothing. They don't care. You see them kind of like, they're like kind of looking his way, like, what's this guy doing? They don't really care. So they like repeated attempts at getting the gators to bellow back at them, and they're really not getting anything. So the tuba player starts to get tired, because I don't know if you've ever played a tuba or carried a tuba.
I haven't, but I can imagine it's intensive.
They are heavy. And he, in the article, it mentioned that he had a back injury some decades ago, and he was starting to get really tired. So he
get this man a chair.
He suggested,
why is he standing?
I mean, he's a tuba player. He's apparently used to it. It's
maybe
not
it was
that
a
big deal for
sousaphone,
him.
maybe. Who knows?
This was a tuba.
Okay.
So he suggests that maybe he could play lying down to allow the sound to travel through the wood of the boardwalk. So he's laying down on his side with the tuba sort of laying down, facing the ground.
He's spooning the tuba. Right, I got it.
I mean, you kind of have to spoon a tuba to play. So
you kind of have to spoon a tuba.
Maybe
the title of this episode. We'll see.
Well, he's like, so he lays down and he is playing the tuba into the wood of the boardwalk. And I'm just going to read directly from the article that he wrote about this experience, because it's poetic. He says, the cheeks of the two musicians puffed out as if storing softballs. Though only a few clouds scudded across the sky, we heard what sounded like thunder in the distance. It was a randy male alligator turned on by a tuba, telling the world that he was a stud. Then closer to us, Toxic, which is the name of the gator, of one of the gators that was there, he started acting weird. He lifted his upper body out of the water while lowering the middle and raising his tail. So you have to imagine this looks kind of like a V shape that this gator's making with his body.
Yeah.
Though he barely moved, a droplet spray exploded from the water covering his back. The water dance, Tim Williams cried. Toxic let loose a roar that shook the earth. So
Cool.
that is from Klinkenberg's Tampa Bay Times article. It is titled "Alligators in B Flat, Gatorland's Denizens Roar in Ecstasy," which is why I couldn't read that title earlier, because it would spoil everything I was going to tell you.
There you go.
And they did note that the gators had a really strong response to the note, but only to a very specific note. And the note is B flat, 2 octaves below middle C. And that they had him doing runs and scales and trying a bunch of other notes nearby, and they did not care. It was just the B flat, 2 octaves below middle C that they cared about.
Well, it's very cool to have that study be replicated then, that it's like,
right?
yeah, no, we agree. The B flat is that's what they're into.
Yeah, and it had to be done in a very specific way, that they had to play it into the wood so that it would carry into the water.
That makes sense.
And so it was just a really fascinating. I find it hilarious, a very funny mental image to me, that they had to lug this tuba out into Gatorland.
100%. Okay, but think about it though. You're walking by and you see, you're just a passerby, for example, and you see a man laying down with a tuba playing a note. How wild would that be?
That is honestly such typical Florida behavior. I don't think it would register with me at all.
That's just Florida man. That's not.
That'd be the sort of thing you'd see it and be like, yeah.
Sure, why not?
You'd be like, yeah, they do that, I guess.
Seems about right. Yep.
It is such an average.
There's Gary.
Behavior.
Must be Tuesday.
I don't know how familiar y'all are with gators, but gators are definitely a point of pride for Floridians, and they're kind of our babies. We resonate with them a lot, and I imagine it would be really charming to come across a little gator serenade.
Sure, I've seen a few gators when I've been down there. They are amazing creatures.
Oh, it's such a treat. Whenever you get to see a gator, that'd
be really cool. I'd love to see a gator. Not up here, but I would love to see a gator in the wild.
Oh, if you got a gator up there, you have bigger problems.
Exactly.
I mean, you can find an alligator gar, but that's not really the same thing.
That is not the same thing.
Still exciting. That's what I have. After the break, we'll get to Rachel.
All right, welcome back, everyone. So a little bit of a story. Kirk, you're gonna laugh at me, but it's fine. In February,
I'm ready.
Oh, great! In February 2022, some New Zealand researchers for the National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research, they were doing a trawling survey for population purposes of a specific fish that has a lot of commercial use there, called the hoki fish. What an adorable name.
That's a cute name.
It's got a friend called the pokey fish too.
100%.
Terrible.
As bycatch, they caught something very unexpected but super exciting. In the net at about 4,000 feet down, so 1,200 meters, they caught a newly hatched chimera.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like the not a shark but related to shark, like that?
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Oh, good. Ellen knows. This is fabulous. We're going to talk about those today.
Do you think I was going to laugh at you because you were talking about a sea creature?
Yeah. It's
and
also
one that's near Australia.
It's also known as the ghost shark, Kirk.
Cool.
So, Ellen, if you didn't know, I love sharks a lot, and Australia just keeps giving, and so does the ocean. So a lot of my topics end up being a combination of those things.
No, you're correct to love sharks. They rule.
They're so cool.
Very cool.
This is also known as the rat shark, or rat fish.
Not as good of a name.
No, it's not. So I'm going to call it a ghost shark, especially
Please
since
do,
they
thank you.
tend to be really elusive. So
Right.
these babies usually stay around the seafloor until they hatch, obviously. So they're in the egg capsules, and they lay until they hatch.
Oh, Little Mermaid purse.
Little mermaid purse.
Oh, I love this. Okay.
And this one, they could tell, was freshly hatched because they found that its belly was still full of yolk.
Oh my
So it
gosh.
was super freshly hatched.
Wow.
Oh my god! Just a
so
And
scientists-
the first thing
it
it
was
did
such a
was
baby.
get hooked.
Well, it was
a
in a
bummer.
net,
Oh, it was in net. Okay.
It's a rookie
Yeah.
I thought it was like a
mistake.
long line.
truly. Is a baby. So there are about 52 known species of chimera. So scientists at NIWA are actually going to be doing genetic testing or have done genetic testing. Again, this
Yeah.
was February 2022, to figure out which species this one is to compare, so they can, because not a lot is known about the juvenile stage of chimera. There's
Right.
some species that are really well studied, some that are not. About half of the 52 species that we know about have been discovered in the last 20 years. So they're
Oh, okay. Wow.
really not well known, and the fact that they found a little tiny baby is so exciting. From what I could tell from the press releases, they're planning on studying and potentially raising this ghost shark to learn more about the biology and needs of the fish, especially since
Okay,
many
so
of the
it was
species are,
still alive then.
as far as I know, yeah, it was still alive.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, super cool. Ellen, you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
And obviously you care, I care, we should all care. So I love this stuff. So we're going to talk about it. A little bit of background why this is so astonishing. So I already told you a little bit about the fact that we don't generally see juveniles at all in research. And we've only met like half the species in the last 20 years, or discovered them, I guess. But they are fascinating. So ghost sharks are not actually sharks. They are in the family Chondrichthyes, which is the shark and rays family. So the family of
Okay.
cartilaginous fish. They live anywhere. You ready for this range? From
Yep.
660 feet to 8,500 feet. So
Anywhere they feel like it.
So,
Pretty
yeah,
much.
Anyway.
Pretty much. So anywhere
Whew.
in metric, that's 200 to 2,600 meters. Generally speaking, they are a deep sea fish. There are some species that like to be a little more shallower and everything, but for the most part, they tend to be more deep sea. They look
Okay.
bizarre. So I'm going to try my best to describe them because this is an audio medium. So you picture a fish. It has a little more of a flat face. It has one gill on either side of their body, which already differentiates it from most sharks and rays.
Right.
Their upper jaw is actually another difference. Their upper jaw is fused to their skull. They have 3 permanent grinding plates in their mouths, so they don't lose their teeth like most sharks do. They don't have scales. They're smooth. And their eyes kind of have a reflective tissue that makes the eyes look like they glow in the dark. They're absolutely
Oh.
weird. They are very similar to, like, they have a wide head that kind of comes to a rounded taper. And a lot of them have these very distinct lines that go around the eyes, and they have these really flat, almost wing-like pectoral fins. And then it
Oh, yeah,
tapers
yeah.
into something that looks like a rat's tail, rather than a distinct
They're bizarre
fin.
looking.
Which is why they get that other name of rat shark, because they actually don't use their tail like most sharks. I mean, they're not sharks, but they use their pectoral fins that look like wings to actually like propel them through the water, which is very similar to like a bird, which is crazy.
Yeah, so it's like they have, I mean, it's sort of like if you were swimming through the water only using your arms to kind of like, do a breaststroke or something, when you're going through that. It seems like that's kind of how
exactly.
they move.
I've witnessed it.
Yeah, and
I've seen it.
Yeah. Oh, that's wild.
We have seen. I think the same species you're talking about, the Australian ghost shark. They're also called an elephant fish, because of the face situation. Yeah. But we saw one in the Monterey Bay Aquarium where we went.
Oh, cool.
In last summer.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and this one really stood out to me. Like this chimera stood out to me out of, we saw so much at the aquarium that day. And I remember making a note to my friend that I was there with about how peculiar they look when they swim. Because it's not like other fish. With other fish, they're kind of using their tail to propel them through the water. They're definitely doing this flapping motion, which means that instead of just, with most other fish, you kind of see them going on this smooth trajectory forward. They're kind of going in a straight line forward. With them, it kind of looks they're zigzagging because they're kind of going up, down, up, down, up, down with every like stroke of the pectoral fins. It looks funky. It is really interesting to watch because I remember that being so like unusual that I noticed it when looking at them in the aquarium. I was like, what's their deal?
Yeah, it would really stand out. You're
100%.
like, why is this different than every other animal's locomotion?
I almost was worried that there was something wrong with it.
It's so weird.
Like I thought there was something wrong.
No, that's just how they move.
Yeah, I was like, are you sick? Are you injured? Like, why is this? Why is it swimming all weird? They're just like that.
Yep, it's so weird. And like they tend, if they also have a large pair of pelvic fins that help them swim that way too, but they primarily use their pectoral fins. So they're all butterfly, which is crazy. And then you can actually see they have very distinct lines on their body that is their lateral line system to detect the vibrations of movement. I mean, if you are going to be that far down, you're going to have you're going to need to be able to detect vibrations and movement really well.
Yep.
You would think that they would, that would be enough, but it's not. Some species I'm just gonna come out and say it. They
what are you beating around the bush
anywhere
for?
From they go anywhere from 4.9 feet in length. There have been some reports that they can be up to like 7 or 8 feet.
Ooh, wow. Okay. Pretty good size.
So they have it's called deep sea gigantism. I saw that and I was a little nervous because that is large. It doesn't look like it's going
more
to
than
be
a
large,
Rachel.
but they're big. Yeah, it's more
but
than
a lot
Rachel.
a lot of that is going to be that like very tapered tail.
Oh, 100%.
So I got to imagine they're not going to look as big as they really are, if that makes sense.
But I didn't like that. It was just sometimes like I like those types of things, but most of the time when I find out that it's something that is
bigger than you,
some species that can grow more than 6 feet, like I don't like that.
It's intimidating.
Anyway, it's intimidating. So they do use, they're a black or brownish gray, depending on the species. They also have a venomous spine in front of their dorsal fin.
Okay.
So they are able to use that for defense if something tries to come and eat them. Yeah, which is absolutely crazy. One thing that is a big difference, so a lot of them look like sharks. People mistake them for sharks all the time. Like one of their common names is ghost shark. But though they resemble them very much, what they do for reproduction is a bit different. Females will lay eggs with leathery cases like mermaid purses, like we've talked about. However, the male chimeras, what they will do is they have a retractable like sex organ on their forehead and
That's creative.
in
Not
front
where I
of
thought
their
that was
pelvic
going. Okay.
fins.
On their
Yeah.
forehead.
So they're
It's
so
the
they're able
remix.
to like so they're able to like fertilize the female and then remove it and not worry about it.
The
Yeah.
nickname, they should have a different nickname, frankly, but we're not going to go there.
No, we're not going to go there.
It's a family show.
Yeah, and generally speaking, like they've been around for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
They've thought that they've been around for about 420 million years or so. But we're still learning a lot more because there's not a ton of gray fossils that are around.
Sure.
But they're really ancient fish, and they definitely look like a ancient precursor to sharks of some sort, but like they're not because they're not sharks. It's fascinating. I just found this particularly intriguing. This particular species, or not this particular species, but this group of cartilaginous fish. And I needed to share it with you all because they look bizarre because you can't see all of their lateral lines, which is weird.
Yeah, we'll get some photos up on Instagram too for everyone to see.
Oh, they'll be up on Instagram. But I wanted to share it, and I figured, Ellen, you would appreciate it too.
Love a good deep sea weirdo.
They're all so weird, and it's amazing.
Big fan
Yeah,
of
people
everything
wanna
that's
try
going
to-
on down there.
People want to travel like other planets. Could there be other life in the universe? And it's like, have you looked in the ocean? Because like, it's
100%. You
it's
never know what you're
another
going to find
world
down there.
down there. Yeah, so many cool things.
But that's what I have for you both today.
Amazing.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, and if I have counted correct, yes, 1, 2, 3. That's the end
There
of
you
our
go.
show. But before we go, do you have anything you'd like to plug, Ellen?
I do. So I have a podcast about animals, like I mentioned at the top. It is Just the Zoo of Us. It is on the Maximum Fun Network, so you can find it on MaximumFun.org. And I should also say it's family friendly. We like to, incorporate our own geeky sense of humor, make a lot of video game and, anime and stuff references, but it is all completely listenable with kids around. So if you like to listen with your kids, you can head over and join the fun. That being said, it is definitely still a science communication show. So we it's not necessarily the sort of thing where it is all going to be completely at, maybe an elementary level of understanding. We do talk about scientific papers and things like that. So, you kind of get a little bit, there's something for everybody, I think. That's
Awesome.
And that's over at
Fabulous.
justthezooofus.com. We're on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have a cool Discord server that's really, really fun. Everybody's nice and fun to talk to on there. So links to everything is all on our website. It's all over at justthezooofus.com. I think it's a good landing spot.
Well, I hope most
Sweet.
people listening to our show understand the physics understand the mechanics behind finding podcasts. Otherwise,
Right, like you're
they
already
wouldn't be
here.
you know where to find
Yeah.
podcasts, you guys. You're literally staring at your
We would
phone or
hope.
whatever device right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll include links in our social media posts too for
And there will
Just
be-
the Zoo of Us, so you can
There'll
find
be
it.
a link in the description of the show notes as well.
Thank you so much.
Sweet. Yeah. So that's all we have for you all today. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks everyone for listening to today's show. Be sure to subscribe. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and we love sharing this strange world with all of our listeners. If you would be so kind as to leave us a 5-star review, that would be great. It lets other lovers of the strange discover the show. You can reach out to us on social media by searching for Strange by Nature Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can send us an email as well. Our address is contact@strangebynaturepodcast.com. If you want more information about the show, you can also check out our website, which is strangebynaturepodcast.com. Until next week, get outside, stay curious, and embrace the strange.